Hello crypto legends, the price of Bitcoin has high probability in hitting new all-time high in the very near future, potentially in the next 1 to 2 months before the end of the year, regardless if that is going to be October or November. The main reason why is the movement to the downside, the rejection from all-time high, cannot be countered solidly with high volume as an impulsive move to the downside to get continuation later on. It is a three-wave corrective structure, meaning that at some point in the future, when the correction is finished, we are looking for the price to hit new all-time high. Now, why do I think that on the mid time frame, there is higher probability in actually coming back down and testing 108.7K, which is the lows from Friday, and even the lows of the 1st of September, which is 107.2K, with the possibility of a shallow breakdown. That has to do with timing. When we do consider the pump to all-time high from April all the way to August in a five-wave structure, this contracting diagonal, we can see that this movement down has been very shallow on Fibonacci retracement and also in timing. This did take about 20% of the time from the entire move to the upside from April to August. That is very shallow in time. So to believe that we are actually going to recover from this zone right over here in an impulse to tackle all-time high in the next 1 to 2 weeks has the lowest probability based on timing. Now, let's go through all of the scenarios that I have ready here for you. There are many scenarios that I'll go in detail, taking into consideration the levels of support and resistance based on the waves that could get developed throughout the next coming days. So pay attention till the very end of the video. And let's start off with the first scenario, which I believe has the lowest probability. Now, the movement down from all-time high is a three-wave structure. We're going to zoom in throughout the 1 hourly time frame, and we have that WXY three-wave double zigzag. The movement up that we had the first 2 weeks in September can actually be counted as a five-wave structure. Not the most beautiful one, however, it is possible, where you have a wave 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, as you can see here. And now we've had this movement down from the 18th of September, basically throughout last week. There is a way of counting a double zigzag here, where you have a zigzag down, you have your corrective wave in a potential flat for your X, and then a very, very quick zigzag down here that we had throughout last week. It was very, very quick. You had a very, very shallow pullback here in this zone, but it can be counted as a zigzag down. So you have a zigzag here, corrective structure in a flat, and a zigzag here to the downside. Now, what has happened, we are getting this bounce here throughout Monday. It is true that we do have that CME futures gap, even though I don't really care about CME futures gap. You know, a lot of people say it's going to get filled at some point, right? Regardless of how high we go in the next coming days. Something to take into consideration, I do know that they do hold some significant support once they filled. Either the top of the gap or the low part of the gap can actually get supported. So this scenario right over here is the most bullish. We are moving up pretty impulsively, as you can see. We would have to consider that we formed some kind of a multiple 1-2 setup, which is very, very ugly in my personal opinion. It doesn't look good at all. And now we're breaking up here in a third wave, and now we're just going to be creating a series of 4 and 5s as we do have multiple 1-2s in this zone. Now, this would be your wave 1 considering the bullish case scenario, right? We would be expecting some kind of a rejection here after forming that consolidation, those triple top scenarios here, forming your 4-5s, okay, where we do have this range point of control right over here at 112.7K, 0.8K zone. This is big resistance. It's the point of control of this range. Now, that is where the price can literally get exhausted and form those double, triple tops as your 4-5s, okay? Now, on the bullish case, we do have a possibility of forming a corrective structure, right? Some kind of a bull flag or a descending wedge where your waves consistently form some overlap, okay? Looking at the 15-minute, 1 hourly time frame where you see your third wave, maybe not breaking down, lots of choppiness, right? And you're forming that kind of bullish pennant, right? And then obviously what we're looking at here is an explosive breakout here in the second week of October, which we would be labeling as your third wave, okay? Now, I will be very interested in looking for a long position if we do create that rejection here at some point, right, throughout the next week, and we form lots of overlap. It forms a very, very choppy, wedgy structure, and our first initial waves later after the correction look very impulsive and very corrective. That's when we are looking for continuation to the upside, at least to take out the recent highs that are likely going to be created in between today and tomorrow. So looking at that corrective structure here to get into a long position. Now, this would be the bullish case eventually, right? Where you form a WXY, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, double zigzag, very, very sharp. This is your first leg up. It has the potential, let's say it just has the potential, especially if we are going to correct in the next coming days. Very choppy, it can come down all the way down here eventually to the 7-8 Fibonacci, right? Which is coming really basically to fill that CME futures gap and hit that range point of control that we formed throughout the weekend. So this is going to be strong support. If we form a 3-wave structure, get all the way down there, bang, massive bounce with a strong impulse, it's going to be looking very interesting for longs, at least to take out the high, and we'll analyze how powerful that breakout is going to be. So longs are looking interesting here if we do correct in the next coming days. Very choppy and overlappy structure. Now let's talk about another scenario. This for me has the lowest probability, guys. As mentioned, I think there is a high chance that we do claim the lows from Friday just because we created a poor low, right? We did form ever so slightly a higher low on some spot exchanges right over here, almost hitting that recent low. That is very rare for a local wave 2. And that means it's a poor low that at some point it has higher probability in being claimed. So let's talk about my favorite scenario, which would be this one right over here. This would be a WXY, and we are currently forming an ABC structure. Well, what we do have here is the zigzag down, which would be your ABC. It's this one right over here. 3-wave structure in a zigzag to form your W. You have your WXYXZ, which is quite rare, but they do happen once in a while eventually, for your X wave. And right over here, you have finished your 5-wave move down in your A wave. And right now, what we're looking at is the development of a 3-wave structure in a zigzag to form your B wave that very likely could top round about the 50% to the 7-8 Fibonacci. Now, pay attention here because, yes, this does look pretty intense, does look pretty strong, right? We're getting some volume here on Monday. We are moving up pretty aggressively. The corrective structure here would also give us that long opportunity because what we are looking for in a nutshell is a 3-wave structure. Now, on the bullish case scenario, we just continue to the upside. In the bearish one, we literally top out here after forming the 3-wave move, getting above the wave 1 here. In this case, it would be the wave A, form that wave ABC, and then eventually not continue to the upside and roll over later on to form your zigzag to the downside. So there would be a good longing opportunity eventually in this zone, detecting that corrective structure, at least to take out the highs, depending if, it might break out for the bullish case, or it might just top out at the highs and then roll down eventually to form that big impulsive move down to finish your 3-wave structure, because what we're looking at here is a aggressive double zigzag where you have a zigzag down, you got your X wave and another zigzag to the downside to complete your ABC and your Y wave, which we would be looking at breaking down 107K and finding support below 107K. Now, the most important level of support that we have just below 107K is 105K zone. That is the point of control of this range right over here. 105K zone is where we have that big high volume node. So yeah, without a doubt, some fake outs, all depending on three-wave structure up. We have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We need to see that exhaustion, a couple of 4 and 5s. We need that big drop down, and then your consolidation here with double, triple bottoms potentially, right? Looking for that massive reversal. This would be the zone where I am looking for big, long positions, 105K area, give or take 104, 103. You might get a bit of fake outs to the downside. Would be my biggest interest zone to really catch the bottom here for that massive move to new all-time highs in between October and November, very, very likely, okay? So that is one scenario here, okay, that could happen throughout the next coming days. We actually form a zigzag up, and then we move to the downside impulsively, and that's where we want to see the price really getting exhausted as soon as we start hitting that first big major level of support at 105K, okay? We could get some choppiness and get some fake outs beneath it, okay? So we'll be paying attention in the VIP and in the Legends Pro community to really get into that big position. I just want to point out here from my local trades, I have been short on Ethereum, also on Bitcoin. All of the trades have been closed basically by over 90% of profits. Ethereum short position from 4 weeks ago was my biggest trade in September, okay, was entered in the last week of August at the double top. And Bitcoin just a couple of weeks ago, not the best entry, but overall profits are profits, have mainly been closed, okay? I am looking for new positions. I will be letting the people in the VIP and in the pro community with the educational screenshots and video updates on what I'm looking for my next big position into October, guys, where I'm looking to make significant gains. If you are interested in joining that, you do have the VIP, okay? Send me a DM if you want to join the pro community or the VIP down below. To join the VIP, it's super simple. Sign up with one of the affiliate links down below, either Bluffin or Weeks, okay? You have great perks on these exchanges, okay? They are an affiliate link where you can get some really good bonuses on your deposit, and depending on the volume that you move, okay, you get some great perks, and you do get access to the VIP channel where I'm sharing my big trades. Now let's continue with the other scenarios here for the price of Bitcoin. We are pumping pretty nicely. We are the first major level of resistance, of course, that we do have on this pump is coming very, very close. That point of control of the range at 112.7.8K. This zone could actually get some resistance, okay? So pay attention here. It could chop around, and that's where you could form those double, triple tops, right? And then get the reversal. If you break through that level, well, eventually I am looking for that lower high that was created on last Wednesday at 113.9K zone, okay? That would be a good level for a possible swing failure pattern. Now, other scenarios that we're looking at, okay? The double zigzag down to finish that WXY, okay? And we do have a flat scenario that is also possible. However, for this scenario, you need to claim one more low, because literally here you're looking for a zigzag down, the flat structure here in your wave X, and another zigzag to the downside. It is actually quite important to maintain below 113.9K, the lower highs here from Wednesday, and start moving down here pretty aggressively to form your next zigzag to the downside, claiming the lows from Friday and the possibility of claiming 107.3. Now, these are good levels for a swing failure pattern. Don't get me wrong here, but they are dangerous, right? They are dangerous because we have the potential of going down a few $1,000s more to the downside. There is some pretty significant support here. You got this range point of control with the daily, which is at 108.2K zone. If we do get naked point of control and daily levels, right in this area at 108.4, 108.2, just beneath the low of Friday, there is a bit of support right there, and it can react as support with this double zigzag idea, where you have a zigzag down, you got the corrective structure and a flatten X, and another zigzag to the downside, and you actually get that reaction from this zone or a double bottom here, right? SFP from the lows of the 1st of September at 107.2K. They are quite risky, guys. There's too many scenarios for this. Okay, you just need to manage risk very, very well. Either get the reaction at daily or naked point of control, or sweep up the lows at 107.2k and then look for the bounce. Now, on this scenario, okay, what we do have is that possible flat structure to form your X wave. X is not in here yet, and what we formed is a 3-wave move up, a double zigzag down to sweep up the lows here to form your B wave, and then your C wave in an impulse with the possibility of getting above that high over here. It can be a running flat, or it can be an expanding flat or a regular flat, which actually gets above the highs here from the 18th of September at 118k. Now, if that were to be the case, and we do get a massive rally here, we get a double bottom, we sweep up the lows, swing failure pattern, and we rally here very impulsively. In this case, well, eventually what we do have is the potential of not coming back down to the lows. Whatever the lows are, if we do claim these lows, those could be the lows if this high is claimed at 118k. So with that rally, with the potential flat, that would be very, very good for this to potentially be the low. Because if you move up so high, getting above the golden pocket in a WXY, well, you do have a good chance that you are forming a sideways corrective structure. That means that you have your zigzag in W, your flat that has the potential to get above the golden pocket, and then here you're likely forming your Y wave, which could also be a flat structure, okay, or a large triangle, okay? It could be pretty boring into October if this were to be the case, okay? However, this would be the area in the green box that we are looking for aggressive longs safely, okay? Now, that is another scenario eventually. Your X wave is not in here and you actually form a flat, and then you form your Y either in a flat here or a triangle structure, and then obviously break out to hit new all-time highs. Another scenario, which is the most aggressive, which I do not think has the highest probability, but the possibility, right, is there, would be an aggressive move down in a zigzag structure here. So you do have your zigzag down, you have your X wave, and now you formed your A wave and B wave last week. And right now you are still in the development of your C wave. So you do have your A wave down here, okay? Your B wave right there. And here you have your first wave 1. Wave 2, it is important to maintain beneath this lower high of last Wednesday at 113.9k. And then you get very aggressively that momentum to the downside, okay, with a 4 and a 5 to continue the possibility of an ABC, a larger ABC. Now, you can see, wow, there's too many scenarios here. However, on those different ones, you need to see how the price develops. Now, of course, there's too many scenarios, but let's just imagine that we do roll over between today and tomorrow and we form that third wave to the downside. It gets a very aggressive move down and then a bounce, okay? You do actually break down beneath 107.2k. You get that very shallow bounce, a little bit long, maybe a couple of days, and then you create one more low. This is the moment, if the price moves down like this, we roll over, big third wave, high volume, we claim 107.2k and actually break it. We chop around and then create another low. We find some support at this range of 105k, right? And this is where we do possibly form a local double bottom, right? Where this is maybe the area where it gets choppy and I'm looking for double bottoms for that 4 and 5. Now, if we move like this, my opportunity is in this area. So as you can see, as the different scenarios that we do look for this one right over here, opportunity is here. Once we break down third wave, high volume, 4 and 5, we are getting supported. We're forming a double bottom, maybe a triple bottom if we're going to form an extra 4 and 5 at this zone. This is the moment to, look for heavy longs. This is where I'm going to be looking for heavy longs. So I am waiting for this scenario to possibly happen. Will it happen? Maybe not. But if it does, I know where to find the opportunities. Now, also looking at the other scenario as mentioned, well, what if we do form this case, which is the bullish case? Well, I will be paying attention to the possible corrective structure. If it is choppy, if it is overlapping, we do form a few more 4 and 5s, then I will be going in pretty heavy in this zone just to claim the highs. And I'll be taking some profits, but I'll be having some of that position open just in case this is actually the low. And this is your wave 1, 2, and now you're just forming your 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 5, right? You're in the development of your third wave. Maybe this could be the case. I need to look for that choppy corrective structure in the next coming days, because if we do not get the movement down, and I'm waiting only for the lows to be claimed, right? I'm only bearish. I need to get down here. No, if I see this being very corrective and this actually looks pretty impulsive, you've got a few more 4-5s to get developed, I will be positioning myself in this area safely with good risk management. And that will be pointed out here on the VIP and especially the Legends Pro community on the Telegram, guys. Remember, if you are interested, shoot me a DM right away. We can get you access, and that's where I'm sharing my journey, basically my P&L. This is where I share my bigger trade positions, okay? Not much more has to be said, guys. Those are the scenarios that we are looking for. New all-time high in the next couple of months, very likely. However, on the lower time frame, there's too many scenarios that actually claims those lows from last Friday at 108.6K, and also the lows from the 1st of September. I do believe that it's very, very likely that we could be fetching that low. We do have some significant liquidity down, but also up, guys. So there is a lot of liquidity up and down. Now, October, very well known to be one of the most bullish months for Bitcoin and crypto. It can start off bearish, guys. However, if it does start bearish with a 4, 5, maybe 10% drop, okay, the first, second week of October would be the most aggressive scenario if it is starting off with a 10% move down. I would be very excited because, yes, Q4 is very likely going to be bullish for Bitcoin and crypto. Thank you very much for joining, guys, and I will see you in the next one.